CSA, Community Supported Agriculture Program locally, to engage organic produce and have people donate instead of canned goods and unhealthy stuff, junk that people donate often. We had people donate greens for them and veggies. So, and then until the garden was ready, then they have some alternatives for nutrition. Next slide, please. So in some communities that we work with indigenous, there's an indigenous community we're working with affected by Typhoon Haima last year. We're helping to bring out what are their traditional earth care practices, no? Like some of them, like Kalinga province, they still do some offerings to the water or to before they start planting, and they have rituals when they harvest. So tapping into the local wisdom, you know, helps support and empower and affirm that permaculture is already existing in their communities. And well, originally permaculture was inspired by how indigenous ways of connecting and seeing the earth and designing with the earth. You know, you want to share that and affirm that, not coming from here, this is permaculture, and you know, you don't know anything, but really just to give rise and support their local knowledge. We're also, next slide please, thank you. Empowering using low-tech and accessible water source. So in the madrasa where IDPs were hosted, there were only 2 water faucets, and they were sharing it among 500 people. And that's, I mean, the conditions are already worse. And then we tried to study, so what are your needs? And then they said they really needed water. And what are the immediate resources there? It's raining every day. And so we worked on understanding the water flows, mapped it in the area, and then created a simple rainwater catchment. And that helped support, you know, their needs for washing and bath and cleaning. And they had another water source. They conserved the 2 water taps that are existing as for drinking water. Next slide, please. So my background is mainly on art therapy and psychosocial support, and that's what really led me before this work with permaculture. And that's how I first engaged with communities affected by disaster and conflict. And so the first priority for us is to create safe and sacred space. So this is after the Typhoon Haiyan in 2013. Homes are gone, everything's gone, food is scarce, homes are roofless, and people died in other communities and villages, and there's a sense of loss, no? And to create safe spaces, to usher in their community to new solutions. So the leaders that we train, we hope that they could replicate and scale afterwards. Next slide for your time, and we're happy to answer questions later. Thank you.
Good afternoon to everybody. So, I'm Francesca, and I will present some of the projects I was involved. I'm involved in Italy with the refugee and migrant. In this slide, I'm teaching. It's 2-day workshop, and you already went into the other. Oh, it's okay. So it's a workshop organized by an NGO created by Senegal people in Milano on a land which has been donated in order to create a community garden and a forest garden. I want to mention Margherita Carl. She's a friend of mine. She's a colleague. She belongs also to the Italian Permaculture Academy, and she's a very exquisite artist and a permaculture practitioner since 20 years. So she used art and permaculture together, and she did a great job, and she's still doing a great job for refugees. And most of the picture I will show belong to Margherita, and she's a co-founder of the association COMOI, which is working in Turin with refugees. So this is film me during the workshop. We were planting trees, and I was showing to the people how to plant tree and which is the best way to plant. Yeah? This is Leila. She belongs to the association Comoi. Comoi is an association created by refugees and Italian in Turin. Turin has one of the biggest European settlements where refugees live. 1,000 refugees live there. It's the ex-Olympic settlement which has been occupied by refugees. Some of them are legal, registered. Some of them are not legal, registered. The people who are legal receive a minimum amount per month by the state. The other people, they don't receive any money, so they need to earn money, they need to eat. So the Comoi Association creates a lot of projects in order to help these people and integrate the refugee into the local community. The local community, the Italian, I can say we are really scared because thousands of refugees are arriving at the coast of Italy, and the situation in Italy at the point of view of economics is also not very good. So it's very important to be able to integrate refugees and to create a more resilient community and healthy community. Leila, in this picture, she's from Somalia. She's receiving seeds which are donated by a local nursery, by this woman to create a community garden in Turin. So, also Comoi organized workshops inside into the ex-Comoi settlement. Some of the people are really skillful and they have art skill. In this case, the guy who was involved in the project, he creates the symbol. I don't know if you can see, the tree is the symbol which was chosen for the Comoi Association and printed on bags and t-shirts to be able to sell in order to be able to earn some money. Okay? So refugees, they also need to have an income in order that they can, live and with dignity. And keep in mind that most of the refugees, they have to send money to their original country. So they really have to find jobs. And in the Comoi Association, we are organizing training in order that the people, they can become an expert in some field and then they can open their own business and earn money. Yeah, this is another project, always in Torino. It involves another community in another part of Turin, and in the back of a big building which is hosting 100 refugees, we have some wasteland with a lot of rubbish. So all together, with an action, we clean the space, and then we started to organize workshops like a bokashi workshop, and also to cultivate and be able to produce their own food. We are in another part of Italy here. We are in Sicily, where most of the refugees arrive. And on a big scale, this is a project called Sicilia Integra, which involves several stakeholders like the University of Catania, the Faculty of Agriculture, Gaia Education, and the local public administration, and also several NGOs which are dealing with refugees. So the idea of this project is to integrate the students, Italian students or unemployed young people working together with refugees, and so the administration, the local administration donate a piece of land in order to be transformed into a permaculture site. So refugees, they are not only coming because they want something from us, but they are also able to give back, and they are really very helpful people, they are really resilient, and this is one Sunday we organized together. We went into a place where Margherita lives, and together we were cleaning and preparing the road. So it's a community activity together, and they were helping us. Okay, I think I finished. Thank you.
So we've taken you this afternoon from the position of the factors, what is it that causes people to move? And that was Hakim with his analysis in Kabul under enormous difficulties. Then we went into the camps, PDC camp, Amani's work with Syrians, along with a special case of IDPs, internally displaced people, and disasters by permaculturists in the Philippines, finishing with refugees in the community in Italy. So I guess the thing we're trying to say is permaculturists are needed everywhere. We saw a range of skills, a range of abilities, we saw different situations, and permaculturists are going to be needed more and more. If you think at the moment you're just busy with your eco-village or something, in the future I think we have a lot more to offer than we're giving now, and this is one of the best fields in which you can offer it. We could probably take 1.5 or 1 3/4 questions.
In regards to the questions, everyone's got a notebook in their bag. So just to give everyone an opportunity to somewhat voice your question, in case you're not called on, we will collect those and post them on the Facebook page so we can have some interaction and continue the dialogue due to time constraints. So hopefully folks will be understanding with that, and we'll try to call on a few different folks. With your questions, please be mindful of them. If it's something that can relate to a lot of people versus just your own personal situation, let's try to catch those questions so we can cover more area.
Thank you so much for that deeply moving and inspiring presentation, all of you. I have a pretty fundamental question regards eco-village design. Do you have the permission at the implementation stage of any of these refugee camps to actually take down the tents, reorganize them in a socially congenial and a land productive way that's so much more design sensible than these roads. From any authority. I worked in South Africa in a squatter settlement. We had that permission to take down the shacks and reorganise. It was such a different thing than just designing in situ with what you had there. Thank you.
Thank you, Rubina. Ro handed the mic to me, then, okay. Well, yes. No, I'm not an expert. I'm sharing also coming from the Global Eco Village Network, where I'm also working part-time. Just an I think it's a good question because there are many factors before you start an eco-village, no? And permission is very important, land titles. And so it's really working and engaging with the right permits before you implement, even before you design. Another is to engage them in the planning itself. So if you engage the local government or the policy makers or the village council leaders so that they could inform that if this is possible or not and what you need to acquire them. So like for example, Ro has invited Jen to work with Kurdistan with World Vision and how to transform refugee camps into eco-villages. And World Vision has already engaged with the Ministry of Agriculture, but this is still an ongoing conversation, no? And they have invited Jen to present to the local government and to the aid agencies. So that would help facilitate perhaps like the permission or the approval to change things. I hope that's helpful.
At the moment, it would be extraordinarily difficult, Robin, because you're not allowed to have solar panels, you're not allowed to have an animal, you're not allowed. So from being people who had farms and chickens and cats and sheep and goats and really nice farms, they are really sitting on a mat all day and having handouts twice a week. So that would give a whole great degree of liberty to refugees. And in this case, I think that it's going to be through the eco-village planning that it occurs. But remember, there are refugee camps in Africa of 500,000 people without any control by anyone else, and they develop an economy, housing, move their tents, go to former groups, form villages, and it's a different situation. This is a situation of terrible control. But if every camp could become an eco-village, the land's restored, the people's restored, whether they leave or whether they go, everyone's better off. So it would be ideal, but maybe not easy.
We'll take one more question. I just want the folks who are raising your hands, is anyone here working in a similar situation so I can prioritize a little bit? I'm gonna.
Thank you very much for what you're doing. My question was about security. Do you ever have issues with people trying to intentionally destroy what you're doing to destabilize the situation? I mean, it's war. I've noticed in a lot of these situations that both sides, for instance, a lot of people have to support ISIS just because their own government is so much worse than ISIS. And I'm wondering, in your design of your permacultural communities, are you considering security? Do you have security protocol in order to protect the people in these camps?
Well, they're all behind razor wire, and there are guards with machine guns on the gates, and there's the whole police there in case. But these people are pretty much people who have run, and there'll be a whole lot now from Mosul who are trying to get back, and that needs more permaculturists. No, not really. Look, the ISIS is such a tiny part that to be frightened of ISIS is insignificant compared with food insecurity, autonomy, freezing cold, terrible heat, good, decent water, grey water, sick children, schooling. They're way above a rare and mad person running through ISIS in a way. No, we're not having any problems like that. These people have run from ISIS. They've fled from ISIS, and sometimes a family might carry an ISIS sympathiser, but they're cut off by the time they've walked to the border and then they've walked in and suitcases. Anyway, some of them are returning to Kurdistan and they're Kurds, so that makes a difference too. But really, I think what permaculture's got to offer is this redesigning of camps from the present model, because if the world of permaculture refugees goes to 200 million, we have to have something so far better than what we're seeing there today. And I think permaculture is so well placed to help people redesign the windbreaks, the shelter, the food, and create livelihoods than anything I've seen in any camp in the last 40 years. It really is an excellent, excellent system to be able to put into place. And we think that once we started getting success, then World Food Project is less necessary. UNHCR don't have to be interfering. The whole situation changes for everyone all the way. Anyway, the UN resources won't be able to cope in the future. So to some extent, permaculturists on the ground, refugees teaching refugees, the sort of thing Sarah and Amani and Francie were talking about, these are the things we need to be doing. We're the earthworms on the ground. But I'm also aware that the stomach worms might be saying it's lunchtime, mightn't they? Are the stomach worms all active? Are you feeling something happening there? Not at all. Okay. Well, I think we've lost Maria. Maria, over to you, I think.
Okay, so again, sorry about the time. We're just going to have to shift and be flexible. If you do have questions, I will take those and we will post them up. Please continue to link up with them at any moment. It's really important work that they're doing in some really hopeless areas that they're creating hope in. So thanks for listening. Enjoy the rest of your day. And check out the website.
Yeah, so this is an upcoming website. So several permaculturists from around the world have come together and compiled some materials led with Rose guidance. And then we're also having a discussion at the Convergence. So that's another space to learn more, and it will be interactive, and we're also doing a mapping around the world who is doing this kind of things. And so that's November 31, 20 to 2:30 p.m. Thank you.